Hello, 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 hello. What a marvelous day to be alive. What a marvelous occasion to be at. Okay. Um, just as it is important to acknowledge the ancestral land that we are upon, it is also important for me to acknowledge the ancestors who are with us on this land. And so I'm going to do a short libation, and then I'm going to do a brief little, I'm going to play a little brief calling card to kind of tell you who I am right now. And then I'm going to lead into and why it is so important to acknowledge those people who have built communities in our lives, in our souls, in the universe. I'm going to be sharing with you a film that Dr. Gilda Shepherd and I did almost 20 years ago about the Yard People, which is a community that I grew up in Buffalo, New York, a community that I think provided many lessons that we could learn today about how to survive and thrive in pandemic times. And then after I show the film, we'll have a little dialogue about what insights did you have? What kind of ahas did you have? Or what kind of like, ooh, yeah, I can do that. Whoa, I'm ready to go. So that's what we're going to try to do in about 15 minutes. All right, everybody ready? Yeah? Okay, ready to roll. Okay, so to the spirit of those known and unknown who gathered before us and beside us, we offer this libation. We offer this libation particularly to the Yard People of Buffalo, New York. The Yard People who despite the quarantine of racism, despite being the social distance of segregation, despite the always having to wear a mask when they were in the company of the other, survived the pandemic, and were able to put forth generations that knew not scarcity, but knew abundance, who knew not head down, but head raised and elegance, and who knew that we were coming after them. And so they left us footsteps and models and strategies so that our way of walking could be less cumbersome. To those ancestors, I pour this libation and I say, Ashe, and you can say Ashe too. Ashe, one more time, Ashe. Oh. All right, excellent. Okay, I am, as I said, it's an honor to do this presentation on the Yard People because I have come full circle in my life. I realized when I was preparing this presentation or thinking about it that I was raised in a yard. And all my life, I have gone around trying to recreate, not trying, actually recreating other yards, other communities of extended families. And that even right now, at this moment, I am the CEO of Hardiman House number 2. So can you play that virtual calling card so people can get to know another side of Dr. J? My name is Dr. Joye Hardiman. My students call me Dr. J. I am a scholar, storyteller, world traveler, master teacher, lifelong learner, and higher education architect. I am the CEO of Hardiman House Incorporated, an urban sanctuary that in partnership with my daughter, Salma Ayers Hardiman, expands the mind, feeds the spirit, and restores the soul. I am the artistic director of Ancestral Artworks, a creative production company that uses ancestral wisdoms to explore and envision solutions to contemporary problems. And I am the founder of the Raw Imaging Exploratorium, a coaching, training, and consultant institute that helps people organizations, and communities reframe their narratives through the recognition and the reimagining of those practices, behaviors, language, and worldviews that block their brilliance. I am appreciated by many for my skills in listening, synthesizing, and energizing.
You made my heart full. When you talking about reclaiming, our healing won't come forward until we reclaim our history, our heritage, our identities, all of us. I think that is the key to our own health and well-being as we move forward with all of this turmoil.
If I could sum up my life's work in a few words, it would be, I take as my sacred duty to restore that which is in ruin and make it more beautiful than before, to resurrect truth from the chains of falsehood, and to applaud the sunrises that come after sunsets. Ashe. Ashe. So that is who I am at this moment, at this time. But how did I get there? One of the things that's crucial at the Tacoma campus is autobiographical reflection. And I can actually say, I am all that I am in terms of where my seeds grew up from. I am a third generation Yard people. I am a person who was taught by example, by watching the Yard people, how to work with the gibbons, how to turn lemons into lemonade, how to accept no negatives, and how to build for eternity. But let me stop talking. Let the ancestors speak for themselves, because that has been my mantra for the last 6 months of listening to the ancestors and seeing what they have to say. So I'm bringing you my ancestors from Buffalo, New York, from Hamlin Road, from the Yard. And I want you to, I don't know if the chat is available as a function, but what I'd like you to do is, as you're watching this, if you think, if all of a sudden it strikes you and you see a strategy that these people use to maintain and sustain in a time of pandemic, in a time of racism, that you say, oh yeah, that's a strategy. Or if you see something they said about how do you parent, how do you support and raise a child when you know that the whole world wants to judge it? How do you work with it? Or how do you work together as a community across class, across color, across age? If you see any of those little things, write them down in the chat, okay? And we'll come back to them. And if the chat's not working and if you're not so fast, write it down on a sheet of paper, okay? All right, cool. All right, let's go. The Yard people, an intergenerational love story. are the Yard People? The Yard People are a group of African Americans who came together in Buffalo, New York in the 40s and 50s. They are people who survived urban renewal, who resisted the flight to the suburbs, and who built, maintained, and impacted their communities for over 50 years.
The Yard People started in this yard and the yard next door. We're the ones that tore down the fences and started having the picnics and inviting people to come. So it pretty much started between these two yards. So I guess King and Tommy were just talking about it, and they just decided that they were going to just take the fence down.
At one time, we could go from Mamie's house all the way down to King's house in the back. If we wanted to carry our pots and pans, you know, for wherever we were going to have our food, you didn't have to go down the front taking your pots and pans. We just take them down here, and we can get through.
I think it was our daughter that first named us the Yard People.
Yeah.
So here are those Yard People again.
I think Burnett is the one that came up with the pre-prandial name. And pre-prandial means before dinner. So usually King's watch rings at 5 o'clock. So I'm on the telephone to the Petersons saying, it's pre-prandial time, or one day they fix, one day I fix. Then Ruby will come home from work and we'll say, Ruby, come on over.
When I come home, they ask, you want a drink? And I got known by the name of Why Not?
She'll say, why not? So then she comes over and has prandials.
We all decided to fix up the garages. I think I started. I got some discontinued wallpaper books, and I tore out all these pages and tacked them up in between these rafters or whatever you call them.
On Friday night, we let our hair down. We'd come over here and we'd party because that's what we needed to do. That's right. That's right. To get our perspective so we can get over to Monday.
We have been here sometime wearing winter coats on the 30th of May.
That's right.
The wind has been blowing. We've been here in thunderstorms. We just roll the garage door down. We've been here in windstorms.
That's right.
Never postponed. Never.
We met and got very close after the couples group, you know, the Latrez. We all had children then, so the women would get together around 8 o'clock, and we would play bridge, and the men would come about 9:30 or 10, and they would play poker. Then we would stop around 11 o'clock and party, and we would party until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Now we go at 6, and we have cocktails, and we eat around 7, and we play cards, and we're through around 10 or 11.
Parties were our thing. We were a partying people. We got our red rug. We invited all the people to come and let's have a red rug party.
We got to the point when some of them moved to the suburbs, we used to charter a bus. And after the cocktail party, we had the bus take us out to the suburbs so that nobody would have to drive after they partied.
This one time we pulled up to the very area I'm now living. Well, we had our cocktails. When we got off, we were singing carols at the top of our voices.
We share ideas and argue principles and things like that. I think that's all healthy stuff.
Each person would talk about what was going on in her own life.
At our little get-togethers, we had those of us in education who talked education, the politicians, we all talked politics. We tried to run everything, you know.
Everyone has something to offer, and if you enjoy what they have to offer, or you find it interesting, you respond to it.
An extended family. I had no brothers that I could run to, but I had, in terms of this family group, there were always guys that you could sit down and talk with. I'm not going to say we talked over home personal problems, but we had a lot to talk about to get things off your chest as far as the community was concerned, as far as politics was concerned, as far as sports was concerned.
Politics, religion, children.
These things are necessary.
We just talk all the time.
It's
it's not an exclusive thing. I don't like exclusiveness because exclusiveness soon wears out.
It's very friendly, warm. People really care for each other. We look out for each other. The children who have grown up here feel very welcome.
We adopted each other's children. We became aunts and uncles. We became grandmothers and grandfathers according to the age of the children. And we were and have been and still are one family. My mother Knight was our matriarch, and we all bowed to her. We all honored and respected her. And Mother Knight could sit and play cards with us, beat us, win our money, and she was just a complete part of it. A very lovely thing. Truly, truly, truly lovely. So I'm sure Tommy Hall, who originated the idea, I'm sure he looks down on it and smiles.
Regardless of any of the yard people you talk to who have had responsible positions, they were better in many instances, if not all, better than their white counterparts, or they wouldn't have had the job. When I was in graduate school and my placement was at a veterans hospital, I had this patient who had aphasia, which is a loss of memory and so forth. But when he looked at me and my black face, immediately thought of another black person. And that black person was Flash Hardiman. And what he said, he couldn't remember the president or anything like that, but what he said, if it hadn't been for Winton Hardiman, he wouldn't have been where he was. Winton taught him then, as it was then and is today. He became Winton's supervisor.
I was denied the opportunity to run for councilman of the city at large, and was told at that point in time that because of the dark complexion, the citizens in Buffalo, the white citizens, would not be voting for me. It turned out that there was a member of the council who was Cora Maloney, very fair complexion. The nomination was given to Cora at our insistence.
Around the 60s we started, our children went to college, and they began to come home. Well, our daughter Joye came home, and she had this afro. My friends began to talk about my daughter. My daughter was the oldest in the yard people, and they began to look down on poor Joye. At that time, my friends and my husband were trying to figure out how I could get Joye to straighten her hair, put on shoes, and become the haughty-taughty little girl that she had been raised, with her little coats with fur collars and her pinafore dresses and all this sort of thing. So I finally decided, if you can't fight it, join it. So I then decided, and I had an afro. Well, my friends almost died because there I was, supposed to be what people might call at that time society, and I had the afro. But I had to support my daughter because I felt at that time there was nothing else I could do, if that's what she wanted to do. And then at that time I had a minister that was really wonderful to me. And when I talked to him, he said to me, "You created that child to think for herself. Now, don't go back on her." And that's when I started wearing the afro. After that, my friends about 2 or 3 years later, my friends' children went to college. And they came back with the afro and power to the people. And my friends started wearing afro, and some of them are still wearing afros.
Reverend Mason, he talked to me and he said, listen, we need more black. Please, well, I was making pretty good money at Chevrolet and I didn't want to go either, but he kept me to go, and so I went and I took the examination and we passed, and then I was called immediately and I got a job in 51. In 1951, I became a policeman. You're black, and they let you know that you were still black. And they would try to do everything they could to keep us from getting this exam. Then after we got to be a policeman, you never got a chance to, you know, we weren't allowed to ride the car. We walked.
I have been the national vice president of the Red Cross Convention. I have been the secretary of the National Red Cross Convention. Nonetheless, some people who moved into the office started saying they were sick of kikes and niggers. They tried to kill my spirit, but they could not kill what was in me. Oftentimes I'd be the only black person in the meeting and I'd be chairing it. And one day I wear a lot of jewelry, and as you see, I use my hands a lot to talk. So my big ring hit the table, and all the white people stopped talking. I said, Black power. What you say, and you know, uneasy, a little laughter from them and so forth, not knowing how to deal with that. But they have to recognize and realize that we know who we are, and we know we have something to give, and it's still true. We handle adversity with grace, and this is from our forefathers and foremothers who gave us the strength to carry on.
Love is the deep inner feeling. Don't worry about what nobody's saying, what is going on. It's what you feel within and what you are able to express in whatever way that you can with the person that you are in love with. But it's I hate to trivialize it, but I feel it is trivialized when I say love, because that's trivia. That's just fun stuff. But when you're very serious about whether it's a relationship, a marriage, a friendship, that is love.
If my husband went over and said, well, I'm going over to see Thelma, I would never get upset about it. Or if Flash would bring me home, your mother would never get upset. Where in some communities that I have dealt with, that would be a real issue. Mm-hmm. And I think we felt pretty secure.
We've been married 59 years.
We just celebrated our 49th, and we're looking forward to celebrating our 50th.
For our 50th anniversary, we did a 2-week cruise on the Caribbean. We renewed our vows.
What's the secret?
Say yes, dear.
Gotta love one another to begin with. And then when you love one another, you can ignore what you call the faults, and you can make it.
Faith in God, deep religious faith, activity in our churches.
And it's glue that holds us together. I guess it's love for one another.
Tommy died, her husband, and those boys came back. In her house, there's a chair when you come in, and those boys came in. She was sitting in that chair, and those boys got down and kneeled around their mothers. It's just something about it, about us, that is just so beautiful and such love.
Tommy's been dead for 20 years. King has been mowing Fran's lawn, doing the snow, trimming her hedges, all the outside work he's continued to do for 20 years since Tommy passed. And sometimes in snow, he goes all the way down to Mamie's house and with the snowplow and plows her out.
We have an old motto we say among ourselves: we're not here to see through each other. We're here to see each other through.
Seniors do date.
Absolutely.
And they not only date, they get into involved relationships. One among us, was so in love. I mean, several of us, but one.
I started out in life.
I don't care, honey. You got so in love. She wanted to be engaged.
No, but I'm gonna know.
So she got engaged. Oh, now she has her ring. Now she's had it for 8 years. Glover and Garnett dated for a long time.
A wonderful relationship with Glover,
Exactly.
and I still miss him very much.
Isn't that something? Thelma's sitting over there acting like
Oh,
she
yeah,
ain't never been
she
in
in
love.
love.
Oh yeah, you in love.
Thelma fell in love.
The yard people and that little core of friends is the underpinnings really of my life. I think I can depend on them to do anything. I can say anything to them. I can get from them their strengths. I can get strength from them. I can give strength to them.
You can call any one of the group and say, I have a problem, and they're there. We're very close, even though you don't see each other every day. They're there to help you.
It's something that has been so wonderful. I can go to bed at night knowing that if I have a stroke and I'm in that bed by myself, all I got to do is try to hit the memory and hit Mamie's name, or hit that memory and hit Garnett's name and say, I need help. And I can promise you, in 10 minutes, somebody's there to help me.
I would like to say they're a great bunch of people. And if I wasn't around them, I'd miss them.
I'm a professor of architecture and urban planning at State University of New York at Buffalo. And the subspecialty field that I call my own, the place that I do most of my research and publishing, is in housing for low-income populations. And I would never have guessed that's what I would have ended up in, but clearly the influence of my father's life and him being a public housing manager, I mean, the imprints are there. I also spend an enormous amount of my time doing public service and volunteer work, which is the other set of footprints. And if you think about MAMA and PTA and Red Cross and all of that kind of stuff, those footprints are there too.
Both my grandparents and my aunt have enjoyed long careers in public service, so I think that was a part of my genes, a commitment to community and investing in community. We both decided to stay in our community, which has a lot of history here in Hamlin Park, and so instead of moving to suburbs, which we could have, made a decision to stay and invest in our own neighborhood. And then I think probably lastly is a commitment to family and friends, and making it a part of yourselves to help others. Both of my grandparents have done that, and so being a husband, hope to be a father, being a community leader, have all been a part of what I've obtained from them.
I know for me, always was very cognizant of making sure that I dressed appropriately, because I think the women set the standard. If you take a look at any one of them, the hats, the summer sandals, and always looking very, very fashion conscious. And I think that that's so important for young people to know what the appropriate thing to do is when you're going to, even if it's just a barbecue.
You had to have a certain amount of discipline. And with that discipline came a no negative attitude posture. And every house that you went in here on this street is a house of love and of positiveness.
Many of them have had outstanding careers, but it hasn't stopped there. They've continued to be part of the community and the fabric of the life in many communities, and that has, I think, kept them young beyond their years, and people that you want to be around and want to party with and have good times. And you can really see that people who relish life and take each day and embrace it are people that just have an enthusiasm. When you did well, they were going to celebrate that. And that's part of, I think, that whole community of the yard people, celebrating the achievements and acknowledging those achievements.
It seems like everybody's your grandpa, everybody's your mother, everybody's your father, everybody's your grandmother, or something like that, because they treat you like they would do anything at any time that you wanted them to do it. I don't know, it's just love, I guess.
Since this is your 19th birthday and you come to visit Uncle Leland, I want you first to read to me that beautiful poem that you sent to me on when you were 9 years old, and I keep it on my wall.
I agonize over these 3 lines, these 3 long lines. And I think it took me a couple of days to write, because when you're writing for something, when you're writing for someone who's special, you want to make sure everything is perfect. I recall my mom harassing me on a daily basis because I would just get so frustrated because I couldn't think of what I wanted to say. And when I finally did, it came out very nice for a 9-year-old.
I loved it.
And I'm glad you did. And that was what we were aiming, that's what I was aiming for. So I will read this piece that I wrote when I was 9. Keywords, 9. 10 years ago. Okay. To Uncle Leland, a survivor of the war. By the light of the fire, many men died. By the light of the fire, very few survived. You may not be the last, but you are one of the first to survive the burning fires of life. Soma Hardiman, age 9.
Oh, don't you? That is beautiful.
I would like to have people kind of popcorn some reactions, please.
I got a reaction. Peak Black excellence and love and magic.
All right. What do you mean by that? What are those words?
It's just overwhelmingly, it really helps me understand you, because you came out of just levels of excellence in every way, and the love, just the feeling of love and positivity and investing in each other in this community, healthy couples who were together for a million years, all of the children. That's something we read about, we hear about. You don't see it done very often in a way where the people were blessedly still, around to share the stories, and just it was just the highest levels, I think, of love, family, of everything, love, family, community. You come from incredibly strong, rich stock, not just DNA stock, but to have grown up and you were the elder child in that experience. So you were like the oldest daughter, niece person. Again, I just, you see all the time in the digital world and social media, peak Black excellence, et cetera, et cetera. That's what kept running through my head, is just, this is the kind of thing, this story needs to be told so widely. This film needs to be shown so widely, because you can talk about something and talk about something, but when you've got, the power of story and people telling their own stories and sharing their own narratives and presenting them to the world, there is simply nothing that is as powerful as that. So you come from royalty, sweetheart.
I do. Thank you.
Yes, you
Thank you.
do.
Thank
I
you.
say.
And I do. And you hit on one of the points, and we'll go over it because I want more comments, but people will comment and then I'll just throw something in. One of the reasons why I wanted to do that was because I wanted to counter all the negative images about the Black family. I was sick of going to college and going to sociology class, and everything that had to do with the Black family was pathological. Everybody's daddy was a Rolling Stone. Everybody's mama, worked hard in the shipyard or whatever else it was. And this was a whole different, and it was counter to my experience. So I wanted to tell that story so I could break aside that myth about the dysfunctionality in the Black family. What else? Other people, I can't see people, so just
So
speak
Joy,
up.
this is Lou Rochelle. I just want to
Hey!
say that I have seen this documentary, I don't know how many times. And every time I see it, I'm just sitting there as though I've never seen it before. I think part of it is that it reflects my own life with having people who stood by each other and, and destroyed all the myths that people like to tell about us. And I just noticed the thing about taking the fences down. I mean, that's literal and figurative. It's like they took the fences down so that they could embrace each other, so that they could love each other, so that they could hold each other in one space, which I'm hoping that we get that message about what we need to do now. We tried to recreate that here. We did recreate that here in Seattle, and people were so stunned. They would ask us things like, are there membership dues? We're like, yeah, you got to bring something to the potluck. People don't get that kind of an experience. So I think you should take this show on the road and let people know that there is a reality for us that has been there a long time, because this is what, 70 years ago?
Right. Yeah, we made it in 1991.
But I mean, the village, that group was way back in the day.
Oh yeah. That group started in 1946.
See, and that story's not told. People don't know that we were hanging out and cooking and eating and doing the Negro National Dance.
Right.
Yeah, so I loved it once more. And I actually think I have a pilfered copy of it. I think you gave me one that I was supposed to give back to you.
Well, that's okay, because it's available on YouTube now. So you can go right to YouTube.
I'll keep it there.
Right. Hey, Larry Gossett.
Hi, I'd like to say something whenever my turn comes.
Yes, Larry, I see Deborah Sullivan's hand up, but of course you can speak maybe after her.
Yeah.
And if you'd if anyone else would like to speak, please use the reactions in the Zoom. Just let your hand go up so that I can make sure we keep in order. Okay, Deborah, and then Larry.
Well, I can't come on camera because I'm cooking and y'all don't need to see all this stuff being chopped up. But hello, Teresa, Brazil. I will never forget it. And
Hey,
Joy, I want to say that what I appreciated most about watching this video was seeing first, second, third generation people talking about their experiences. And it just makes me think of what we need to do now to make sure that the second, third, and fourth generations that follow us, what we need to do to make sure that they have that community. It's just sparking that in my mind. I just wanted to say that.
Ashe, ashe. Excellent. Yeah, that's what we need to do. Well, that's what we are doing. Larry?
And thank you very much, Joy, for sharing that. That was the first time I had seen the film, but it reminded me of Isabel Wilkerson's book, The Warmth of Other Suns, where she talked about the Blacks that moved from the terror, racial terror of the South and into the northern cities, tended to have closer family ties, had the opportunity to work hard and get jobs, but lower paying jobs. Like my daddy went from, you know, picking cotton in East Texas to working at Todd Shipyard. He made $1 a day in Texas and $1 an hour at Todd Shipyard, but it was still the lowest that they paid. But the family unity in the High Point Housing Project, and then followed into the central area. We had yard parties all the time throughout the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. And they went a lot like the one that you were able to share with us. And I think we need to show this broader. I think that we need to share these stories broader than we do, because a lot of our folk and a tremendously high percentage of whites and other national minority groups do not see this kind of interaction amongst Blacks, like you and others said at the beginning of this session. So we have to talk about how we get it shown broader. And then like meaningful movies, there's this group that reads all over Seattle, but it's all white. But they have some meaningful discussions after those sessions about what can be done to make the community, make families work together better, make the community function more effectively and more inclusively. So I really enjoy particularly the strong messaging that came from all the Black families, particularly the elders that spoke. It's very inspirational. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
thought it was excellent, Joy.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent, Joy and Gilda, and really appreciate it. And my family was raised up like this.
Right.
Yard parties and the Friday night fish fries.
Right, Rhonda.
So, yeah, and the warmer weather was easier in LA, but it's still going on. And thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rhonda.
Absolutely. Pam Bridges.
Hey, how's everybody?
Hey, Pam.
Oh boy, I've been in Seattle all day with my honey, and we just got a brand new recumbent bike. So you guys gonna see him running around Tacoma in his laid back bike. So that's been awesome. But I just wanted to say, honestly, Joy, this video, it's been a lifesaver for me. It's how I've raised my family here in my immediate family here in Lakewood, because we moved here from Hawaii because of my husband's military. So we knew nobody here. We didn't know anybody in Hawaii. We didn't know anybody anywhere that we went. But I had to create that village concept. And when the baby said, everybody is like my grandma and my grandpa, and I don't know, I guess it's just love. I think I heard the love. I couldn't even count the word, how many times I heard love, honestly, through everybody. And when someone else said, your mom, of course, Grandma Hardiman, when she said, I could call any one of my yard people, any one of my friends, and I know they'd be there in 15 minutes or so. And I know for a fact that works, within our village here, because we've had that experience where somebody has, had a fall in the house. Or just the other day, one of our village members had a fall, one of our elders, and I was right there. I mean, that's just the way it is. And it is truly a lifesaver. And it gives our kids such confidence, our children such confidence. It makes us feel confident that we're not here alone. And if we get sick, somebody's gonna look us in the eye and say, you know what? Did you see, your eyes don't really look that good. I think we need to talk about this. So it's a beautiful thing. And it's just really unfortunate that our community, in other communities, they don't understand that this is how we roll. This is not new to us. This is what we do. So
Right.
thank you for I've seen it too. You, Lou Rochelle, you're right. I've seen this so many times, but every time I look at it, I hear and see something more beautiful and more profound and just more awesome. We're just an awesome group of Black people. I just love us so much.
And,
It's all about the love.
Right. And I want to make a note that and this is an urge for everyone to try to capture their family histories, their generations, their biographies, because we were lucky enough, Gillian and I went in, and when we went in, everybody was alive and healthy.
Yeah.
You know, 20 years later, they're all gone, except for Aunt Garnett, who is 103. You know, 103. She was the one in the pink that was teaching the little boy how to do the electric slide. You know, so love keeps getting back, love keeps generating. Yeah, but we have to do that. We have to record these stories for our generations. We've got to, you know, so everybody doesn't think, you know, that it isn't stuck in a single story.
Right.
Last comment from Meryl.
Yes, Meryl.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hardiman. Oh my gosh, it brought back so many memories because our house was the house my mom would cook and people would come to the house and the kids, we would be in the living room or whatever, and we just knock out wherever we were. You know, that's how it was. And having so many aunties and uncles and stuff like that. And it's kind of lost within my family since, you know, the matriarch is gone and stuff. And so that's like inspiring me to start to create that more in our family and stuff, you know. And yeah, I just want to thank you so much. It's a great
All right, all right. Oh, I see Joe Williams.
Yes, I do see Joe Williams. Go right ahead, Joe Williams.
Yes.
Oh, you're muted, I think.
Now he's disappeared.
I don't know why it won't come on.
Okay. Well, he's gonna come in a second. I know. Yeah, I'm so glad people are responding to it this way, because when I look at it right now and I think about the times we're in, this notion of being able to work with the Gibbons, to to take segregation and turn it into a village. Say, okay, we've been redlined. We can only live in one place. But that place doesn't have to be a place of despair. That place can be a place of elegance. We can turn our street into a cul-de-sac by just tearing down fences and tearing down walls, and then being able to be so inclusive. What was so really beautiful about them was that there were people who were professional, there were people who were middle class, there were people who worked in the factory. But as someone said, everybody came with an equivalency. And they were appreciated for what they could bring to the pot, what they could add to the potluck as a community. And so the commitment was there. So Uncle Billy was a councilman like you, Larry. He was the first Black councilman in the city of Buffalo, and Uncle King was the first Black deputy mayor. But they turned it into a party. And I think that's so important. And it's what I've learned the last couple months is the importance of to do the work, but then also take time to celebrate. I mean, they said we have to party so we can get that energy out, so we can handle what we've got to face when we walk into that office, that place on Monday. All of the negative gets washed away by coming into the community. Okay, last question from Joe. I see.
Hey, I hope my camera is working. It's nice to see you, Dr. Joy, and all of these wonderful participants. I kind of want to echo the sentiment I was hearing from Meryl, because I was feeling so much nostalgia when I was watching this. It felt like simpler pre-pandemic times. It felt like the old family cookout. It just felt so warm and fuzzy. And I asked myself, why have I not felt that in a long time? And as others have noted, it's just the splendor of the multi-generation thread of community that is just so beautiful to behold. And what a important, piece of living history that this is now encapsulated in this beautiful documentary. It seems so timeless. And in fact, it's really the old camera quality that I'm living for. It's very, very nostalgic. It's just brought up so many feelings because I remember that style of clothing and I had aunties who wore that same that same print, and it's just crazy. So thank you so much, Dr. Joy, for compiling such an amazing historical record of some of the people who've shaped your life. And I hope that we all seek, similar values in our communities. Thank you.
Ashe, 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 ashe.
Absolutely. And just want to thank you, Dr. Hardiman, for taking time to put this beautiful presentation together and to share that part of your life. And we challenge all of you not to think about how we can recreate that era. I think that era has gone. We even look at families differently. We look at yards differently. We look at isolation and coming together differently. Our needs are different and they may be more modern. So as we look to what gems we can take from the yard people, remember these times and some of the ways in which we already may be reaching out. And I think it's really important that are we touching base with people who are not in our immediate zone, but people outside, people who are both related and unrelated. So what a lovely thought. Dr. Hardiman, your final thought?
Yeah, one thought on that. Thank you, Marcia, for that, because it's really important. I understand things come full circle, but we can't go back to where we started from. So whereas the yard people was a physical place, now this new age, we're in a virtual place. So now we have a chance to create virtual yards and as well as in-body yards. And so if you all would like to see, can you put that last slide on? If you'd like to watch the yard people for the 25th time, or to hear about how the yard people has morphed itself in Tacoma, Washington, then I invite you to tune into my YouTube channel called Ancestral Artworks, and it's the number is right there. And what that does is it not only has the yard people on it, but it has 23 episodes that I produced from Hardiman House, the third generation of the yard people. And it talks about how do we take our houses and turn them into homes? How do we take our homes and turn them into sacred spaces? How do we take our sacred spaces and use them for the good of all mankind? So if you don't have anything to do, or if you do have anything to do, check this out. I think you might find it interesting. And the ancestors from the yard say thank you so very much for appreciating them and appreciating their lives. You give them lives when we say their names.
Well, Ashe, and thank you very much for all you bring to lifelong learning and continued work that satisfies the entire community.